Welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloe, Channels Television, Abuja. Let's begin by telling you what happened in the National Assembly today. The Senate is condemning in strong terms the United Kingdom's government's inclusion of Nigeria in its COVID-19 red list without justification. The House of Representatives is also asking the Foreign Affairs Ministry to interface with the UK government to reverse the decision to ban Nigerians from the UK.
That the social media has been agog in the last few days following the report with the lowest cases of COVID-19. But we are worried that by the decision of the British government to include Nigeria in the COVID-19 list with its concomitant implications, which will affect many citizens of Nigeria who are planned to spend their Christmas and New Year holidays with their families. We are also worried that Nigerians with genuine need to visit the UK within this period will be denied visa, and those with visa will not be allowed to enter the UK. We are worried that targeting African countries in the COVID-19 travel ban amounts to profiling and discrimination, as well as an attack on our cordial diplomatic relations with the UK. We are aware of the global concern over vaccines hoarding and inequity and the resulting consequences on low-income nations in the fight against COVID-19. This Senate is hereby called upon to resolve as follows. 1. Condemn in strong terms the UK government inclusion of Nigeria in the COVID-19 red list without justification. We call on the federal government to then constructively engage the British authorities with a view to reverse this inclusion.
Some of the arguments and the positions of the lawmakers on the floor of the National Assembly today. Let's check out some of your political roundup stories now.
The Kaduna State government has begun another competency test for primary school teachers as part of efforts to ensure quality teaching and learning in basic schools across the state. This comes almost 4 years after it conducted a similar exercise that led to the dismissal of 22,000 unqualified teachers and the recruitment of 25,000 qualified teachers. Speaking at the commencement of the computer-based test holding in 3 different centers, the chairman of the State Universal Basic Education Board, Tijani Abdullahi, says the competency test is not to sack any teacher, but to identify gaps in the subject areas for the purpose of training and retraining the teachers.
The teachers that are here will see the difference in the approach of the testing.
The management of the Port Harcourt Refining Company says the timely completion of the rehabilitation work on the 2 refineries in River State could be obstructed by the travel restriction recently imposed on Nigeria as a result of the new variant of the COVID-19 pandemic. Managing Director of the company, Ahmed Diko, stated this in his presentation when the members of the House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream visited the complex to oversee the progress of work 9 months after the federal government approved the sum of $1.5 billion for its repair.
So many things are happening around the project that are not the usual. And the intent of this is just to make sure that we succeed in this.
The Supreme Court is unable to proceed with the hearing of an appeal brought before it by the former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondus, owing to an ex parte motion moved by his lead counsel, Obamadu Buchi, who sought the relief of the court to serve the court processes to all respondents before the commencement of hearing. After listening to the motion, the court led by Justice Musa Mohammed granted the request, directing that the appellant put all processes before the court at the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party before a date for the actual hearing will be communicated.
You can't sit down somewhere and say you ask the ward chairman of your party to suspend your national chairman. And so my take is that we have just come here to waste our time.
Then you are up to date with some of your political roundup stories. So let's take you to the presidential villa, where the chairman of the APC in Anambra State Campaign Council and the governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, has said that the national leadership of the party and its candidate, Dr. Anduba, are yet to decide whether or not the declaration of Professor Charles Soludo as a winner of the election will be challenged in court. Speaking after a meeting with the president at the State House, he told the State House correspondent that the president's congratulatory message to Soludo will have no influence on his decision to approach a court. He also spoke about the security situation in his state, Imo.
For Anambra election, of course, you know, the election has come and has gone, and other things may be post-election activities. Of course, I was able to explain to the president how we tried in the election. We campaigned very vigorously, and we also converted a lot of people to APC. You know, the election was greeted by voter apathy, and because of the high level of insecurity in Anambra, you know, the turnout was very low. Other decisions and positions will be taken by the leadership of the party. I've done mine as the chairman of the campaign committee. The prominent among other issues is just the increasing insecurity in the southeast. I know that despite the activities of the bandits and the non-government, recall that the correctional facility in Owerri was broken and over 1,804 inmates released. Since that time, they've been on rampage, committing all sorts of crimes, kidnapping, robbery, the other sorts of crimes in the state. And there is need for us to really clean up the state, because you know that this period of Christmas is so important to our people. And we want to ensure that those coming home to spend their Christmas will have a conducive atmosphere to enjoy their Christmas and then celebrate the season.
Well, you heard him, the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma. Tonight, our attention is on 2023. It's an agenda-setting conversation. The nation awaits President Buhari's assent on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. That in itself has generated conversation on how it will affect or impact on the quality of our elections and on the larger picture, the quality of leadership in 2023. Tonight, our attention is on the agenda of 2023 and what the election year portends for Nigerians. I'm being joined by three wise men tonight, in themselves the national chairman of different political parties and experienced politicians. I'm being joined by Chief John Peter AMEH. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Alhaji Yunusa Tanko, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And Bishop Amakri, thank you so much. A lot of people will think Bishop is a title, but I know it's a first name for you. Thank you so much for coming.
It's not a title for the purpose of clarity.
Yes.
It's a name, not Bishop by title, but by name.
All right, I understand now that Mr. Iko Sami, a chieftain of the APC, joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Mr. Sami, for joining us now. Let's get the conversation started. It's important for us to know what we are entering into. A lot of people are talking about 2023, whether or not the conversation is too early, but some people will tell you that it's not too early. Well, now there will be primaries next year. Sometimes in the middle of next year, the political parties will have their primaries for who is going to fly the flag for their political parties. Again, the quality of those who will fly the flag, because when the political parties decide, is almost cast in stone. Well, if, for example, you have several bad eggs decided by the political parties, you probably pick the best of the bad eggs. That is how critical this conversation is. The quality of those who are seeking to lead us going forward from 2023, we need to check and find out what do we need at this point in our economic, social, political, and of course, security-wise, what kind of leadership do we need? And that's why these men are here tonight to give us a sense. Now, let me begin the conversation around the issue of the Electoral Act Amendment. And let me begin with Chief AMEH. What are your expectations from President Buhari? We've seen the consultation that he's making across INEC and some legal consideration that he's making. What are your views on the point at which we are expecting the Electoral Amendment Bill to be signed, and of course, how that will impact on the 2023 election?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's very important that President Muhammadu Buhari signed the current Electoral Act before him. Let him sign it because as of 2019, there was this complaint that said, oh, ECOWAS protocol on elections, we allow 6 months, before the conduct of election. In fact, that ECOWAS protocol on election also has an addendum that says, if all parties agree that you can sign the Electoral Act even 2 weeks before the election. So, and that was not done. That had a lot of effect and a lot of, how they call it, setback for the 2019 election. This particular election, it is important that he signs it. The National Assembly overwhelmingly passed the bill for the for the Electoral Act to be signed. So if the president does not sign it, that means it's not showing that he has interest for transparent process for election. He must do all possible best to show that what he wants to bequeath for the Nigerian people is a transparent, a credible, and a fair electoral system that will represent the true wishes of our own people. The electorate will go to the polls come 2023. We will not have a bandwagon effect again, and then have a situation where, if he refuses to sign it, maybe because of one clause of indirect or no indirect, but these are inconsequential matters. He can sign it. Our amendment is a continuous process. We can continue to review our laws to be able to update it to whatever international standard we want. But as it is, whatever that has been done by the National Assembly is enough for us to be able to run a 2023 election on a platter that will represent all interests across Nigeria. And that interest should be his own interest. His own interest would be the protection of the interests of the Nigerian electorate and the Nigerian citizens who will be going to put to select and elect their president called 2023.
There is one question I'm coming to both of you on the issue of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. But there was a question I was posed to the governor of Imo State about this current state of things in Nigeria and the chances of the APC. What's your view as a politician? If you, for example, are the leader of the APC and things are like it is right now, do you have fears that you might get re-elected into office in 2023?
No. These are questions that actually should be left with the electorate. But the fact is that if we are doing a reviewing based on personal perception, which will be limited to what I have seen and what I've be able to aggregate, and these are the outcome of the decision that the APC the actions of the APC have on the Nigerian population. So if you look at what the APC have done since they came in, even in 2015. The APC has to trace itself back to 2015 and see that the PDP 5 governors actually decamped to the party to make the party a success. Because without those 5 governors, I believe the APC would have had an equivalent tax in climbing the mine to come to the presidency. So now by 2023 they would have had 8 years in office, and that would give Nigeria a better chance to do a scorecard. Like I said, it's not going to be a bandwagon effect. Like people just come without campaigning based on issues, without campaigning based on what they can do for Nigeria. It will be name calling, mudslinging, and then boom, they have elected into office. That will not be the situation.
You think APC might find it difficult
there will be checklists this time. The Nigerian electorate must stand to checklist and say, what are you promising on the area of road? What are you promising on the area of water infrastructure? What are your promises?
But the APC will go into that election saying that for 8 years, this is what we have done. How do you think that will pan out, Alhaji Tanko?
With all due respect, it's unbelievable and a total disillusion to every Nigerian to have it in their mind that the level of governance of the APC will have been put to question or been interrogated. Coming from the fact that ab initio, there was a trigger that the APC came with, which is based on anti-corruption, fighting against insecurity, fighting to improve the economic situation of every Nigerian. Unfortunately, all of these three agendas that were set or explained by me have not been achieved, unfortunately. In fact, what you find in the country today is total insecurity, economic descent. Issue of corruption has now left a level of the poor people, has left now gone more closer to the level of governance. So in that respect, it will be an Herculean task for anybody to start thinking that probably those who are in government in today have 100% chance of being re-elected. When you meet an average Nigerian on the streets, you will find out that everybody is complaining. I mean, how could you explain the governor of Imo State is trying to explain to the president why they possibly have lost election in Anambra? It is unheard of. The choice of leadership lies in the hands of the people. They cannot be gagged and they cannot be emasculated. It is their choice. Whatever they choose should not be a subject of discussion. It should be to a party level, but not on a national debate or discussion of this nature.
From your own standpoint, APC has not lived up to expectation.
Oh, definitely not. They have not lived up to expectation.
Good, pass, fail. How would you describe it? How will you grade it? If you're a lecturer too, I mean.
The barometer for checking the performance of APC cannot be put on the scale at the moment now. Believe me, because everybody was hopeful that Nigeria will have been a very better and good society out of today. But here we are completely disjointed. There is no trust among the people. The economic situation is so hard. People are living in abject poverty, despite the fact of the heavy loans that we have taken. Unfortunately, the president may have a good intention, but what is being transformed into the society is completely different.
Because you're one of those who are seeking the alternative. But let me bring Mr. Sami that is on virtual before we lose him. Mr. Sami, I mean, you've seen, you're hearing some of the reactions. And we're looking at 2023, the chances before Nigerians, the quality. And these are signals, isn't it? And how do you react to those kind of comments?
You see, very good evening, viewers. I am surprised some of your viewers, some of your guests there are mentioning members, some governors in the PDP had to decamp to APC for Mr. President Buhari to win election. They have forgotten that the governors were not the ones that voted President Buhari. It is actually the electorate that did it, because they saw they saw clearly his agenda, which in fact, I can tell you categorically clear, if you want to assess Nigeria, Nigeria has three stratas. We have state, local government, and the federal. This is the only government that ensures that there is 100% equitable distribution of resources to each and every governor, whether PDP, APC, or any other party throughout his administration. So if Mr. President has 100 billion naira check, and he has handed over 60 or 70 billion naira to states, which PDP are actually part of it. Can they start assessing what they have been able to achieve in their respective states and compare it what Mr. President is doing at the federal level? Infrastructural revolution, which is before our eyes. Insecurity is a challenge that is before our eyes, that the president is facing it head on, is something inherited. He's facing it clearly from the funding, from the policy, from everything. It is actually something that he said as a priority. So what we expect is people on the other side to do two things. First and foremost, let them assess what they'll be able to achieve, because Mr. President make sure that they enjoy democracy by not interfering in whatever a state gets and whatever they do, which happened uninterrupted for this period of 6 days. That's one. Let them also assess what they have been able to do in their local government, which collected chunks of the money, which is where the masses are, which is where they are going to get most of the votes that will vote against them or for them. And let them also assess what Mr. President has done in terms of infrastructure at the federal level, around the whole country. I cannot finish to mention to you all the railway, the road infrastructure from Sukuki.
Yeah, so if I may quickly coming here, you heard what Chief Ahmed, just a moment, Mr. Ekosami, you heard what Chief Ahmed says that, look, going into this election, there will be a checklist from Nigerians. And your party is going to be on the hot seat because you would have spent 8 years. There are promises that your party had made to Nigerians. So the question will be, are your lives better before now or after now? So there will be critical questions asked of your party, of the promise made and what has been delivered, the quality of the lives of Nigeria. So how would you be able to convince Nigeria? What can you tell Nigerians tonight that going to 2023 or having the conversation of 2023, can you honestly tell Nigerians that your party has lived up to the expectation?
Mr. Sheung, when you want to make such assessment, don't sit down there and make a general assessment and forget about 3 indicators I told you. Mr. President does not administer governance in states. He administers governance at the federal level by ensuring that resources go to state, local government, and the federal.
Oh dear. It seems to have lost connection with him. There is a frozen frame. Let me come to Bishop Amakri. Your party, the YPP, you're bringing conversation about new orientation, young views into governance. But the question would be in 2023, what should we be expecting?
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate my brothers and colleagues who have always emphasized on the electorate really need to take their decision. And for me, I also concur to that. Well, however, you know, the wounds that we have today, political wounds that we have today, nobody can exempt PDP if you're talking about the faults that we have today in Nigeria, PDP and APC. And that's why we cannot have a national conversation or things that bother our country, the well-being of our political lexicon or our democracy, without mentioning these 2 parties. So I don't want to actually give the fault to APC alone. As far as I'm concerned, the problem started from the PDP, you know, the 8 years or 16 years or whatever they say they have stayed. There was a transition of saying there is this social change that we have gotten in our country. And for me, I feel that 2023, actually, it's really the time that Nigerians should look at their future. What is really the way, what we must do, you know, to kick out these people. Nigeria is not looking for a president. Nigeria is looking for a united-in-chief of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria, somebody who have the technical know-how of what Nigeria is supposed to be. Okay, it's not about the nomenclature, the name president or whatever. We want someone who can unite this country. And I pray that the APC, frankly speaking, do not hand over an insecure country to the next administration because, frankly speaking, what can they say that they have done to the people of this country when they campaign based on them coming to profile solution to the insecurity of this country? They campaign based on the real social change that people desire, you know, infrastructural development, you know, social. There is nothing that you can say today that the APC have provided to the people of Nigeria. And frankly speaking, like I said before, they cannot take the chunk of the blame. The PDP and the APC must share the blame. If it is 50-50, so it is. If it is 60-40, so it is. I think that going forward, my brother Sheung, we need to educate. That's what I would call political education. That all of us must be saddled with that responsibility of going out there, you know, educate our people, let our people know the need that they must be part of nation building, because the business of nation building is a multi-stakeholder obligation of every citizen.
The big question here, you are major political players in the Nigerian political firmament. The big question is that, do we have voters that are politically aware of how critical 2023 is?
That's true. That's the area we're going. Let me give you an example. You see, when people come, I've seen several times candidates come with manifestos, political parties come with their manifestos, let's say for, you know, prior to election. And the question you ask is, with the money and the brain, the time, resources you have spent in putting together this manifesto, agenda, or whatever, how many people really have the time to go into that your manifesto and read?
But seeking office, isn't it supposed to be on what you want, the manifesto, what you are offering? If you have a better idea, I know that it's been difficult to say, oh, our elections have been based on issues. It has also been based on those surface factors that determine who wins election. Elections in this country have sometimes been rigged, and for people who have won election, I say the election that brought them into office was rigged. So the question is whether or not, Alhaji Tanko, you're one of those who have said, oh, we want a new alternative, we want a change, we want a new direction in the choices that we have on our hands. But do we have voters who are aware of the need for that awareness, voter awareness?
Okay.
In 2023.
We do. Even in 2015, we did have voters who were very much aware. And that was what brought in the APC. You see, just like you writing a thesis in an exam or for a professional or PhD, you must identify the problem. The statement of problem, you must identify it. Nigerian voters identified that the previous leadership of the PDP was not able to solve their problem.
Or the APC preached.
Yes.
Is it that they realized, or the APC had a very strong machinery?
No. They were, at the point in time the heat was on. I was a member of the National Peace Committee, so I can tell you from some of the things that we investigated. Nigerians were so tired. They were looking for an option. So when the conglomerate of the APC came together, they thought they had found solution to the problem. Unfortunately, it became a double jeopardy on them. So the problem now is that most of the problems have been identified. We are looking for solution providers. And that is what we have to provide now. Nigerians voters are looking for a solution
Are they truly? Because in Anambra State, only 10% of the voters came out.
In that case.
So the question is that, are they really aware? Do they really know what to do on the election day?
In fact, I must commend the people of Anambra for coming out in that number. Because at a point in time, their life is in danger. We were not even sure if they come out to vote. You don't know which bullet may hit you, either from the other agitation or from the government. So people who came out were courageous to have come out and vote. And they voted for the choice. Some people may not like it. If we have been able to pull it out of Anambra, I think we'll be able to pull it out in Nigeria.
Chief Ahmed, let me bring Chief Ahmed in. The bulk of the voting population are that of the young people.
Yes.
But the young people usually, check all, there is no election, general election we have had in this country that we have 40% of voter turnout. It's usually less than 40% of voter turnout. And if the bulk of the voting population are young people, have they convinced you enough that they are really now aware of the need and how critical 2023 is?
I think I'll deviate from my brother, Dr. Tanko, to say that he's commending Anambra voters for coming out under 10%. There's no need to commend them, because if they understand the importance of what the election stands for, you risk everything to go and conduct election. You risk whatever you have. And for the Nigerian youth, I think there's one act of some transparent sense of docile attitude that believes that election results don't count in Nigeria. But one thing they don't understand is that the more the voter turnout determines how fair and how free sometimes election can be. And the 2023 election will be on referendum on a lot of fronts, on the Nigerian state, on the electoral umpire, on the Nigerian people, and on the media. Because for the Nigerian people, they must show that the interest of Nigeria matters to them, and that the interest of Nigeria is what they pursue, and that when they go to the ballot in 2023, they will not be able to be, they will not decide to sell their vote for just stipends. And
apologies, Chief Ahmed, because we're due for a break. Okay. I'll allow you to continue when we come back, because one critical factor is whether or not election will count. In the last few elections, have the votes of people counted in those elections? Whether or not that will give them the courage again to come out. Whether or not the youth, as we saw in the protests in NSAS, are really having a change in orientation of coming out for what the time they are right. We'll go in the break, and when we return, our conversation on 2023 and how critical it is continues. That'll be in a moment, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone. welcome back to the conversation. Tonight, we're setting the agenda. 2023 might look to you like a year and a half away to when we have a new government, because it is for certain that President Buhari will not be seeking office. He would have spent 8 years in office, and the APC mandate, they might be seeking to get another person into office. Other political parties will also be seeking to get APC out of office. But the main conversation tonight is the quality of leadership, what Nigerians should be expecting from those who want to govern Nigeria in the next few months. So the process has started. The conversation has resumed, and we're setting the agenda tonight. I have talking to us tonight Chief John Peter AMEH and Alhaji Yunus Tanko and Bishop Amakri, as well as Mr. Sule Uko Sami. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me allow you to land on that thought, Chief AMEH, on whether or not there is a realization of how critical 2023 is, especially from the point of view of the Nigerian youth who form the bulk of the voting population.
Like I've tried my best to try to talk to young people over the years. The fact is that election, those who don't come out to vote actually ultimately determine the outcome of elections. It's not just those who come out to vote. When you don't come out to vote, the 9% that comes out to vote override your own interest and then take decisions on behalf of the majority that is supposed to vote and give us the actual candidate that will lead Nigeria. Let me tell you what Nigerian youth must understand. We have a university system that we don't have foreign students, we don't have foreign lecturers, and people live here to go study in small neighboring countries. That is on the ballot. Good road is on the ballot. Basic health, basic standard health facility is on the ballot. These are the things that are on the ballot. And for them, they must be able to open their eyes and look at what checklist would they have to be able to determine which party or which candidate best suits the interest of the Nigerian people. And that's why we're saying that even the referendum on the Nigerian youth, on the Nigerian electoral umpire, is going to come 2023. Because the 2023 election will not just be a usual thing that you can just postpone maybe 2 days to the election and then do whatever you like. Nigerians are going to react. One of the problems we have with the Nigerian electorate is the ability to sustain their interest for a very long time, because they could be motivated for a while and then demotivate themselves without pushing up to a logical conclusion the reason why they need to vote for a better Nigeria. The Nigerian youth, the population of the Nigerian youth, can determine the next president, can determine the next governor. I understand what my friend is saying, that there have been bad governors across the line. But in the Nigerian system, first of all, we talk about the presidential seat to see how capable the person we are putting there is. And if that person is capable, some of the major challenges we face will be wiped out. And whatever happens in the state, we'll start to get that one gradually. Election is critical. It's one of the most important aspects. And that's why you find out that in the democratic process. I find out in some countries, it's not voluntary. It's compulsory. If you don't vote, there are certain benefit.
There was an upset in 2015. We've not seen that happen in our political history, where a sitting an incumbent was defeated. A ruling party was, in fact, a president seeking re-election was defeated. Do you see a sitting party being defeated, or there another kind of upset?
No, the possibility is very clear. The issue is that President Muhammadu Buhari will not be on ballot in 2023,
and that might be the difficult one.
It's going to be an open system. All the parties need to do is to be transparent. It will allow views to inclusivity. It's not to be put in position on all candidates, and allow the popular candidate of the parties to emerge in their presidential primaries. With this, you will see that Nigerians will decide who becomes the next president.
We'll come to whether INEC is prepared for a level playing field. Let me bring in Mr. Suleiko Sami back into the conversation. President Buhari will not be on the ballot. That is a fact. Your party might find it difficult to convince Nigerians. True or false?
You see, no, Heun, if you have forgotten that Mr. President over the last 6 years has succeeded in actually building independent structure within the party and even the state. He doesn't interfere in most of the activities in state and party lines. What he succeeded in doing is actually educating the Nigerian electorate that if you have a transparent president like him, where there will be autonomy allowed in the state judiciary, state legislature, local government, there will be democracy as it should be. So that record alone is going to be answered by the National Party, which is the All Progressive Congress. The only party that believes in the national unity of this country. The only party that does not believe you have to come from one side of the country for you to be president or not. The party that believes in unity. So I can assure you of one thing. What will be on the ballot will be infrastructure, will be in the ballot. I agree with the other. What APC did on in terms of healthcare, it will also be on the ballot. And what the governors have also done in their respective states will be in the ballot. You don't expect because you have the best candidate as the president, you go and sleep in your state. You'll be washed out. This time around, it will be all round because Mr. President has already set the system for us. We have already tested it at the local level, and most of us that do assessment from either Abuja or part of Nigeria should assess what the youth are feeling in their respective localities. And I can tell you from where I'm coming from, Nigerians from where I'm coming from in most of our suburbs understand that people with their responsibility in respective state will answer for them. In local government will answer for them. At the federal, they need a quality. And the only quality we need is a transparent, straightforward, honest, and committed leader that believes in the unity of this country. Because we are not going to be playing politics of you are from here or there. Someone that believes in the unity of this country, someone that will deliver on the promises that Mr. President Muhammad Buhari has started, infrastructure everywhere, and you can see that. I'm sure people around Southeast, Southwest are smiling very well on the infrastructure done in this country already. Challenges are there. If challenges are not there, we cannot have leadership. Challenges are there, and they will continue to be managed by the successful president. And we believe that our party will produce the best because of that unifying and progressive mind we've always had. That's why we're moving this country the way it is. And I tell you that, I can tell you this without any mixing word, that the reason why you are hearing a lot of criticism about our party today is because our party is the party to beat. They will not mention to you what their party can do on the alternative. They will always be criticizing on the few things they see which we have inherited that we are still
this question. You've seen a lot of youth activities, and I mentioned it earlier. The number of the youth population within the voting bloc, they form at least almost 60% or 50% of the voting population in Nigeria.
Yes.
But they are not as prominent on election day. But if you look at what happened with the NSAS, the protests across the country, and how youth mobilized, except for the issue of the disruption and what happened, it brings to mind the possibility of youth mobilizing themselves and coming out. Does that give you some kind of jitter? The kind of activity we're seeing within the youth population, does it scare your party? Does it make your party feel concerned or worried in any way about the possibility of jeopardizing the opportunity of returning to power in 2023?
No, Shehu. Majority of the activities of NSAS, there are, of course, a lot of good intentions among it, but majority of the activities were drama, blackmail, hate speeches all around the country. There are a lot of recommendations in several quarters in this country concerning NSAS. I'm not using NSAS, a gathering in Abuja and a gathering in Lagos to be able to assess the youth political temperature in this country. Do you know what I'm assessing, Shehu? What I will use to assess is the number of people that became employable, people that are employed, and people that have actually been engaged in several entrepreneurship activities within the country due to the economic policies of this government. That is what is happening in our suburbs today. Not the music and the drama and the artists that are singing all over the place. When our people in Lagos and on the street are being killed in their marketplaces. Instead of protest, they were killing people on the road. Some of those bad things have actually outweighed most of the good intentions the youth wanted a reform in the police. And remember, Shehu, every government that will come with a beautiful reform, no matter how it is, it will face a lot of difficulties. And I can tell you, President Buhari was the first president in the history of this country that when there was a protest, he came out on national TV, recognized most of these NSAS issues, and immediately he put a lot of things on ground for it to start acting. But people that wanted drama, people that took advantage of the political terrain and political sponsorship around and created a lot of drama, went ahead and did all that. It's unfortunate, and I pray our youth will continue to galvanize for good governance, will
Yeah,
continue to
let's
check
check
our
out a few
politicians
other
even at the
issues
federal level.
before, within the remaining minutes that we have. The issue of zoning will play a major role. That's a factor. Either we like it or not, that's going to be a big consideration. But first and foremost, let's check out what INEC has done so far in the last few elections that we had. Do you think, Bishop Amakri, that there is a level playing field from the election INEC has conducted? Do you think rigging will be anything to reckon with?
Yes, I must commend this INEC. The introduction of beavers is an alternative that has come to solve, I think, practically over 80% of the problem, if it is well managed. This issue of incident form is no more there. Now people, your vote, people's vote can, you can say.
Are the votes counting now?
I think from what I saw forget about the people that came out in Anambra, the number that came out. But I think that I was in Anambra, and I think that the votes were counted. That's just the truth. But that's not to say that it's yet to huru. INEC, must not up their game, towards 2023. We need INEC to really up their game.
Alaji, you think that we have a level playing field now? You think the process votes are counting in Nigeria now?
So you and I were in Edo, were in Undo together.
Yeah.
And then we saw the level of how INEC was prepared for the elections. Despite small hitches there and then. Before, we used to have this collation center. When you vote, the collation center may decide your vote within a twinkle of an eye. That has been eliminated. The issue of producing of results on the board and seeing another different result completely eliminated. And then INEC was determined to ensure that they pronounce the result that was counted at each polling station. So we must commend them for trying to increase advance the tempo of our electioneering. And quite honestly, the way in which INEC has stood very well on their grounds, saying that they need that electronic system, despite all of the shenanigans on the trade wars and all, even to a point now that, Mr. President, we will know that we don't have to seek for any other person's view, seeking for their views, whether they should do direct or indirect primaries, and then seeking INEC. And INEC still stand on the side of the people, saying that, yes, they come on, because they are returning power to the hands of the people.
So votes are counting?
Of course, because what we
things that you can say categorically from 2019 and the last few elections. Do you agree that things are better?
Considering the fact that when you look at what happened in Anambra, and I said I commend the strength of it, because if they did not come out at all, imagine if there was no election in Anambra, it could have been disastrous for democracy. The people that came out to give life to democracy. And so we must commend them for doing what they did. And even for IPOB, who even advanced and encouraged people to come out, despite all of this situation, it's commendable, because what we need that can checkmate our life and make our life better is having a democracy that enshrines the right of the people to vote for the person of their choice. And that happened.
Chief Ame, you think the votes are counting? You think INEC
it's very clear from 1999 how, ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing were the major issue on the front on our elections day. And if you find out from 2015, when the issue of cadre that came in, that was used for accreditation and then, subsequently used for data collection. One of the most important parts in trying to get anything right is having data. We know, very updated data. And one of the problems we have faced is how to move result from polling unit to collation center. It is between the polling unit to collation center that people are jacked ballot papers, stuffing more ballot papers, rewrite new results. So, but what the beavers, what the electronic, how they call it, inclusion into our democratic space have done is that ability to transmit those results from polling unit directly to collation center while they still wait for the manual collated result. That gives our electoral process a dual collation process, now giving it a backup and a front line. So you have two opportunities. You have an electronic result already transmitted, and then you have the backup paper, on its way coming. That dual opportunity gives, even if you change that result, the already transmitted result, before the agent of the political party will surface as the authentic result that will cover the fraudulent, how they call it, manipulation of the result from the polling unit to the collation center.
Right.
So if our elections are not
better,
if our elections are not better, let me tell you, before the bourgeois, the oligarchs who rig our elections, never cared about talking to the people. They were never interested in talking to the electorate. All they wanted is just get the result, write a new result, and
But
run
things
themselves.
will change now.
But now they even go about paying the electorate money to get their vote. That is to show that the electorate now matter in the scheme of things.
But people now collect money and they will see vote.
It is not meant for the electorate. It is not meant for the electorate to jettison the idea of putting their lives on the plate of 5,000 naira.
Because people,
that is to show that
we've experienced where people collected money, and there's a fight broke out at the polling unit. They collected money and they voted against those who gave money. And so people look like they're now wiser.
Because they are now more informed. They have seen the difference of collecting money and then just positioning their own future in the hands of. And that is why when you look at the statistics in 2019, it was very, very clear. You had almost 83 million, according to Wikipedia. 83 million people voted, were registered. 15 voted for President Muhammadu Buhari. 11 million voted for Atiku Abubakar. And when you calculate the total number, it's just about 33 million people, leaving about 50 million undecided voters. And remember, right now, the voting level or the registered level of people who are registered for voters will increase, especially with the regard to the issue of the NSAS protest. The Nigerian youth are now all gravitating and mobilizing. Now, where they will go to is a different kettle of fish.
Let's conclude the conversation in this way. Yeah. Some people blame you and your colleagues who are not in the PDP or the APC. They felt that you should have formed an alliance, a bigger alliance ahead of 2019 election, that you lost the chance. The question is equality. Would zoning play a role? Would there be an alliance of some sort? Would there be a third force? Let me begin with you.
Thank you, Sean.
Because obviously there are big parties. Let us not deceive ourselves. There is the PDP and there is the APC, and there are other political parties.
Sean,
would there be those concentrations?
My position still remains. Nigerian is looking for a united in chief. Forget about it. It's not about zoning. It's about...
Zoning will not matter?
For me, I'm talking about, this is my humble opinion. We are looking for a united in chief. The man that can come and do the job. Now, it also, lies on the electorate. We need to provoke a national conversation that will evolve around, a political evolution that will metamorphose to ballot revolution, where we must have to chase out the political hush mummies and hush daddies so that we can usher in transformational leaders.
So quality of the personality will matter.
There are three things you must consider in this particular election coming in 2023. One, the demography of the age, actually age limit.
So we need, what kind of person do we need?
We need a younger or at least wiser person with capacity and at least have the health and intellectual capacity to put everything in position. Religion plays a major role. Do not be deceived about it. And then, of course, the issue of where you come from, whether you are from the north or in the south, makes a very big, important situation. And that is the reason why we felt that coming together as a group called the National Consultative Front is very, very important that we encourage ourselves to look beyond these two political parties and come up with something new that Nigerians will gravitate towards. And we are working on it.
On the third force?
Yes, definitely.
Let me bring Mr. Aiko Sami. If the third force comes, will your party be able to stand? They're looking for leadership, the kind of quality leaders. We just have about 30 seconds because I need to get Chief Ahmed's final word too. The final word in 30 seconds.
I'm smiling because of the successes in our electoral system due to Mr. President. But I can tell you this, Shehu, third force, any force or political party that will come for the purpose of seeking power at this dire minute will be rejected by the Nigerians. We believe in people that have the experience and the know-how and the capacity to keep Nigeria united by making sure that we have representation all around this country to produce a very united Nigeria that is progressive. And that can only happen in All Progressive Congress. And I can assure you that All Progressive Congress will be the party to beat by third force, second force, or whatever you might call it. I can assure you the best way we can do is for us to unite around this party and ensure that there is transparent
Chief
primary
Ahmed, you really
processes
want to give us a
select
party.
leaders in this party so that
Frankly,
we
it's
can
about
select
big party and
leaders
small
that
party.
will produce
The issue with party politics in Nigeria is about visibility, and visibility tends to do with about how much financial, how they call it, money inside the circulation of each of the parties, and where this equal level playing field is not given to all parties, where some parties have governors already before new parties are created, and these governors and the House of Reps and those elected under this platform help in nurturing this party with financial assistance, and then to the exclusion of all others. So we must be able, for us to grow our political party on equal basis, for us to give opportunity to all political parties, there must be a way to encourage other parties
Shouldn't
to
these
grow.
political parties also work together? That's why we're talking about
I wanted to finish up. It's not about working together. If what we need, let me tell you, parties have won election. This party won election in senator in 2019. My party won 2 governors in 2007. ADC won a lot of elections. Other parties are winning. The beauty of multi-party democracy, it gives color to our democratic practice. Without that, if you restrict our system to 2-party system, you won't see Bishop here, you won't see Tanko here, you won't see me here. So this opportunity has been given to Nigeria under Section 221 to Section 210.
So you
is to give opportunity for Nigerians to participate. It's expanding of the space, an inclusive driven multi-party democratic platform. So we do not believe that any party is greater. So it is the lack of equal playing field that have made some parties to pretend and suppress the wish.
We're totally out of time. But I think that we'll birth a conversation on the minds of Nigerians on them seeking quality leadership in 2023. And I must sincerely thank you.
That leadership must be decided by Nigerians.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bishop Abakri, Alhaji Zenatan, Chief Ahmed, thank you so much. And Mr. Sule Ikosami, thank you so much, gentlemen, for this conversation today. But that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.